Okay, so part of this speech is for parents. So on the parent part, you guys can just kind of listen, because the parents will start going, what? Ooh, and then I'll talk to you guys. Does that work? Okay, so let's start with the parent part. Hi, parents. All right, so my name is Valencia Belle. I started a tutoring company when I was 12 because I was a freshman in high school, and none of the senior athletes could make the score that they needed in order for them to get D1 scholarships. So my high school said, hey, she's got a 26, maybe you should go and talk to her. Everybody's like, huh? What? I was an elite track athlete, and my coach made me take the ACT in the 6th grade. He said, there's no way that I'm gonna allow you to continue to be on the AAU team and get in this van and go to these elite tracks, and you can't sign with anybody. You're the only person on the van that can't sign. So I went and took this test, and it scared me half to death, and it was 4 hours, and nobody prepared me for it. And I came out of it, and I cried for the rest of the day. And my mom and dad had not been educated on the ACT, so when I got my 26 back, I was on punishment for the rest of the summer. Because my parents thought it was out of 100. Until the recruiters started coming to my track meets, and like I was telling the PR person, the lady from Nike said, hi, how are you? I was like, hi, how are you? She's like, here's a bag of gear. I was like, from Nike? Then my dad was like, put it down, that'll make you a professional athlete, stop. I was like, this is a lot for 12. Because at 12, all I was really worried about was convincing my mother how I was gonna be able to get my hair cut so I could have bangs like all the big girls and not have to wear pigtails, because I was in high school. And see, in high school, this is for you guys, I wanted to be a cheerleader really, really bad, but I was like close to 6 feet tall. And so the cheer coach said, you know, there's really no one that we have to stump with you except the center for the basketball team. And she said, you could be the person out front that could make the split in the front. So that's what Randy and I were talking about. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna do a split, and I'm gonna pretend like I'm gonna be a black box cheerleader by December. I am not going to stunt. I am not going to stunt, and I am not going to try anything with my back because it is a long way. I'm over 6 now. It's a long way back there. So I applaud all of you all, because I can't do that kind of stuff. All right, so parents, why did I say I want to talk to parents first? I start ACT prep in the 3rd grade because that is when they start standardized testing. If you have not talked to your daughters, they know exactly what groups they're in school. Ask them. You're like, what? Huh? Yes. And cheer at some schools is considered a sport. So I want to talk about scholarship money. And this year they decided they were going to vote. So any of you all who want to compete for cheer in the Olympics, it'll be an Olympic sport at the next Olympics in Paris. That's huge. Did you know that? Did you know that that vote just went through in July?
Yes.
So you could possibly be one of the first people to be on the U.S. team for cheer. So, something to look forward to. All right, so parents, let me break this down economically. You may have already saved $2 million for your child to go to school, but why would you spend it? When I made a 26 on the ACT at the age of 12, and that was 30 plus years ago, that gave me a refund check of $100,000 renewable for 4 years. And it also included a 4-summer internship in engineering. I made $400,000 attending the University of Alabama. If I was a senior in the class of 22, I would probably have $8 million to my name. Because now they can press things like Unigo, and they can apply for 500 to 600 scholarships with a click of a button. When I was applying for scholarships, you had to call the people. They had to send you a paper and pencil application. You had to fill all that stuff out. You had to try to get all your recommendation letters in. Not so now. They can even apply to college with one flick of the wrist and apply to 60 or 70 colleges at one time. Understand that this is business. Why am I saying that? Some schools will give your child a cheer scholarship and everything is paid for like a regular athlete. But understand, when you go to school on an athletic scholarship, if you don't cheer, they don't pay anymore. So there's nothing worse than you getting all the way to Stanford at $80,000 a year and getting a phone call from your daughter saying, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I was wondering if you could just wire me 85 grand so I could stay here. And could you do that for 4 more years? Maybe 5, depending on what they're majoring in. As opposed to, they have 12 times in their lifetime to take the ACT. And the ACT will super score. What do I mean by super score? The higher the score, the more times they take it, they take the best of the best. That's That's why I start early. So if they get a 36 in English, 36 in math, 36 in reading, 36 in science at 4 or 5 different times, when you get ready to go into your senior year, they take that 36 all the way across. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, so the ACT versus the SAT. This is still parent stuff. You guys can just kind of zone out for a minute. All right, which one's easier? In my professional opinion, the ACT. Why? Because the ACT is a forced choice test. What does that mean? One of those answers is the right answer, and even if you guess it, you get credit for it. Not on the SAT. The SAT has 3 portions, a verbal and 2 math. The second part of the math course, no calculator. Raise your hand if you're here and you want to take a math test without a calculator. Yes, and that's what happens. Students go to the test and they're like, why can't I use my calculator on the math part? Because you can't on the second part. So I've seen students who've been valedictorians, top 10, come out of the SAT with a score that's equivalent to an ACT 8. Sometimes lower. So this is why Randy asked me to come and talk to you all, because many of your daughters want to cheer in college. Some of them will only get paid $25 a game. Those of you who want to be professional cheerleaders, that's about how that is the pay for several of the professional organizations. And people are like, well, why do they do it? Because they also get endorsements. Be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader and see what happens to your life. Make the calendar. All right, so on the back of this sheet for parents, it's just some information about the ACT. Highest score is a 36. You cannot fail the ACT. You can make a 1, and you get no points for showing up. You don't get 4. That's the biggest lie I've ever heard. You get 5 points just for showing up and putting your name on the paper. You get none. You have to have so many questions correct. However, there is a scoring guide that will tell you exactly how many questions you need to get the score that you want. The national average for high school seniors is a 21. Parents, that's going out making an F in English, an F in math, a D in reading, and an F in science on a Saturday morning from 8 to 12:30. National average. If your students are AB students, there's no reason why they can't be in the 30s. But you have to prep. It is impossible. I have not, in 35 years, I have never seen a child walk in and make a straight 36. I've seen them do well, but they don't even know what they did to do well, so when they go back in, their score is much lower. So, in April, in June, and in December, you can actually pay the additional $20 and you can order your child's test and you can order their answer key. Why is that a game changer? You can know exactly what they missed. That means that you can actually prep on what they don't know, instead of going in and paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to people that'll say, oh, I'll start your child from here. When I say this is serious, I had a student who came to me, my class is only $375, they had already paid $40,000 and had not got a score increase. I was like, that is highway robbery. You need to go back to those people. They should have given you some kind of money back guarantee. Everybody's laughing, but in this area, ACT prep runs about $200 an hour. What are you asking your prep person to do? What's the plan? Okay, moving onward. All right, to register for the ACT, you do that online. You have to register a month before the test. Hopefully I don't have any seniors. I don't have any seniors, no. So why am I saying that? Seniors, if you're a senior, you got 2 shots left. You just missed the registration deadline for the September test, which was Friday. Now you're paying late registration fees. The next test is October the 23rd. After that, even if I get you a perfect 36, most scholarship deadlines are December the 1st. So you won't get any extra money. You gotta plan it out. All right, this is what you need to remember, parents. It's called academic currency. In the same way that your credit score gets you a certain amount of things that you can buy, your student's GPA and your student's test score buys a certain amount of college. Why is that important? I have students that have made 34s on the ACT with 3.8 GPAs who were denied admission to college. Like, how is that possible? Well, you want to go to MIT. And last year, their freshman class average on the ACT was a 35. And most of their freshmen have straight A's. Same thing for Harvard. Does it mean you can't get into Harvard? No, it doesn't mean that. I've been there. I mean, you can still get in. But here's the question. How are you going to finance school? Because one of the hardest decisions that I have seen students have to make is based on the fact that we have enough money to stay there for 4 years, but we don't have enough money for the 5th year. See, when you may have started planning for their college tuition, I want you to think about how much stamps cost. By the time they get ready to apply for school, 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 years from now, college may be twice as much in state. For those of you that, I don't care if you are a billionaire, why would you pay for something that you can get for free with a $60 test? Does that make sense? Because my father played in the NFL, and he said, you know what? Your job is to make sure you go to school for free. That had nothing to do with track and field. He's like, you can study that test and you can do well. And that's what I did. All right, so why do I say prep early and prep strong? Still for the parents. Because of COVID, many of the sites are closing down. You may have to drive 100 miles to be able to have a place for your child to test. Plan it out and start as early as you can. So parents, if you have questions after the fact, I'll be here, I'll talk to you. Whatever I can do to help your students, to put them in the best position, particularly for those of you who are interested in going to Ivy League schools. Early decision is August the 15th. Some students haven't even started applying yet. So when I hear students say, you know, I'm really interested in going to Princeton or Harvard or Yale, and I said, okay, well, have you started the early application process? No, ma'am. It's like, you might get in, but there are 8 million people who already started the application process before you. I do suggest, parents, that you think about 6 schools that you're interested in applying to. Once you've been accepted, it works like this. You apply, and then you're accepted, and then your scholarship. It's not the other way around. And particularly for cheerleaders, you may have a recruiter saying, oh my gosh, I really want you. And they send you all this information. They even send you a national letter of intent. But you haven't been accepted to the school yet. So until you're accepted to the school, you cannot be a cheerleader at that school because you're not a student there. So if parents have any additional questions, I'll talk to you afterwards. Now I want to talk to the athletes. Love your sport. Love it with all you got. Because I'm here to tell you that there will come a day when you won't be able to be a cheerleader on somebody's squad. Not because you're not good. You'll get older, and it's kind of hard to be a cheerleader when you're 75. You still can do it, but you gotta find a squad that'll let you cheer on that squad. So while you have the opportunity to do it with all your might. And if you still wanna stay in cheerleading after you finish cheering, college or professionally, give back to be a cheer coach, for sure. Because you have a gift, and you have an opportunity in your sport that some people will never, ever, ever have the opportunity to do. Some people never have the opportunity to even participate in a place like Black Watch Cheer. So give yourself the opportunity to be great. And understand that when your sport ends, bow out gracefully and love it. What do I mean by that? You're good at something. You're great at a lot of things. Whatever it is that you know that you're great at, stunting, flipping, whatever the case may be, maximize your talent in that area. Stand out. All right, well, that's all I had to say, you guys. If I can help any of you all with ACT prep, let me know. Bye-bye.